fast forward, and then going through that process. Later in high school, I was 16. It took about a year and a half. Um, Came across my first boxing lesson with my friend Ramon. Yeah, he's a freaking
Oh,
great
I remember
guy.
you brought him up.
Yeah, yeah, Bubba B.
Yeah.
He's a beast. And he was boxing with Coach Jeff of Wailuku. It was at
Mm.
Peak Performance on Alamaha Street, right next to where Goodwill is nowadays.
Oh, by like the industrial area of going to Costco.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
So we were over there, and then he was like, he would call me Kiko, for like Kiko
Oh.
Man show you. Yeah, he's like,
Oh.
oh Kiko, Kiko, hey, better Kiko.
Wow.
And then he'd be called Bubba, right? Bubba B.
Oh,
He'd be like, oh Kiko, why don't you come? We'll do some boxing
that's
together.
cool.
And I still remember my first session. I was scared to death. It was like kill or be killed. And he was just like fixing my punches because I did a little bit of karate,
Mm-hmm.
and it was just terrible. And I remember thinking, okay, this is kind of interesting.
Mm.
First weekend, I got thrown into sparring, and I got destroyed by
Who's that?
I don't know. It wasn't Arnell. It was Ace
Ace.
Ibanez. He was a freaking killer, man.
Oh.
And obviously they were going light.
Mm-hmm.
It's my first week.
Yep.
But like like when you're just blasted with
Yes.
volume.
Yep.
And
You
I
know
was
they
just
can
like,
put some power on
what is
them.
going on?
Yep.
And that's when Brandon Vischer was there. That's when Coach Jeff's son was there.
Mm.
Holy, they had some killer. And Arnell was there.
Mm.
There was some crazy talent. And then I only lasted for a few months.
Mm.
And then I saw these guys. It was Professor Ehrman.
Mm.
I was like, why are they wearing, these gis? Because my perception was taekwondo and karate, right? So I'm like, why are they wearing these gis and like rolling on the floor? What the heck is that?
Oh.
And then I saw my future good friend Greg Wan. He was a green belt at the time, 15 years old, or 14 or 15. And I just looked up to him. So I was like, dude, what is that? What is this? He's like, oh, it's called Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I was like, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu?
Oh.
And then I was kind of attracted to that because growing up, we would play like King of the Hill. So we would wrestle and grapple with all of our neighbors to see who's the big dog. Just,
in the neighborhood,
stupid kids. Yeah, stupid kids.
That sounds fun.
Yeah, and then I would never win because I'd be like number two. And then actually Bubba Ramon was like the guy. He would just like toss us, whatever. And so I was like, well, I kind of want to learn this Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu thing because if I learn that, maybe I can.
Mm.
Anyway, so fast forward, I don't end up training because I was just like terrified. Mm-hmm. And then a good family friend, our Buddhist family friend, Vivian on TV. Mm. I remember I was sitting on a couch and she said, "Oh, my husband's teaching Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu." I was like, "Oh, teaching Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu? Okay, yeah. Like, huh? I finally know what that is." Uh-huh. And then that's when UFC was showing up on like Spike TV. Remember Spike TV? Yeah. So Spike TV and all that, and I was like, okay, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and then also there was a lot of big guys in Pride at the time, fighting championships, Nogueira, Fedor, all these guys. So I was just a casual. Oh, I watch UFC. Yep. And then so I take advantage of the offer. I was like, oh, I'll come by, check it out. I was like, oh, just come try it out. Mm-hmm. And of course, at the time, I was shocked because my perception is you got to be a black belt. Mm. My Coach Keith, awesome coach. He was a purple belt at the time. It was like a faded purple belt. Wow. Right? And I was like, purple belt, right? Because that's I think that most people's perception if you don't do jiu-jitsu. Purple belt. But come to find out, just a good white belt will destroy you.
Oh yeah.
And so I go in, and we started doing. It was very like wrestler, submission wrestling style. So I was like, all right, I'm here, big guys, like huge guys. Shout out to Val Patel because that guy was a killer, and he helped me talk through a lot of things. But anyway, um, great times, and I was 16 years old, and up until I left for college. But anyway,
Mm,
so that was awesome because that broke my thoughts. I was like, wait a minute.
mm,
Once you started rolling, I was like, you know what?
yeah.
I wrestle.
Yep.
Not wrestling, not high school wrestling yet, but I was like, I wrestle outdoors.
Uh-huh.
I wrestle my friends.
Yep.
We do like some WWE moves, you know, and I think I can maybe pull a WWE move on one
Yep.
of these guys. Within the first match, I just remember being crushed in side control, and I was like, and I literally tapped to smother pressure because you
Yep.
don't know, right?
Yep.
I'm like, the hell was that? He's like,
Yep.
hey, you don't tap to pressure, and I was like, but that was a lot of pressure.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah, and then just
Yeah.
like, what just happened? Um, and then you roll with a blue belt, and it's even worse. The first guy was a white
Yes.
belt, and then I was like, and shout out to Ben, Ben, he helped me a lot too.
Mm,
Um, and anyway, so yeah, I remember rolling with him. I was like, dude, I can't do anything against blue belts.
yes.
This is like my first month, and then finally, about a month in, I finally get to roll with I used to call him Uncle, but Coach Keith, purple
Mhm.
belt. It was like, I it
You
was
had-
just
you couldn't do
bad.
anything.
Yeah, I mean, you know, like on our first day, a purple belt is like freaking like you
Yeah.
can't do anything. Um, and so I was just like, I just started laughing because I was just getting like tossed around. I get swept like crazy.
Yep.
Get submitted like 10 times. I'm like, is
Yeah.
purple belt the highest belt or something in jiu-jitsu? I was like,
Levels.
what is going on?
Yes.
You know, and I was all confused, but you get addicted right after.
Yeah.
You're like, dude, this is kind of good. Like,
This is
I
fun.
have to learn this.
Mm-hmm.
I have to learn this because the ability to like, you know, submit or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm training, and then we head into my senior year now.
Mm.
And then people were saying, you should, you know, wrestling. I was like, wrestling, okay. A little bit different, but similar. It's because it's grappling.
That's true.
And I said, okay, you know what? I'll give this high school wrestling thing a shot. Oh, I shout out to Coach Panuve too. I'm gonna send this to him because, and shout out to the late Coach Ivy too. But anyway, Coach Panuve, man, that guy would like just. I mean, he's still power like this. I don't know, but like, man, he did a really good job creating a old school type of wrestling environment, and you had to like fight tooth and nail to keep your spot. And I would lose my spot constantly to Donovan in wrestling because we were same weight.
Yeah.
He wasn't really jacked like how he is.
He's a tough dude, bro.
Bruh.
Wrestling with him is
Dude. Yeah. And I was just like, oh man, I'm like battling tooth and nail. And then I'm going up or down one weight class to maybe like see if there's someone close.
Oh.
But anyway, that was very good experience. And I just remember like that was the first time I think I remember just constantly throwing up.
In the wrestling room.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ooh.
See, getting ready for season and all that stuff. I was just like, this is this is another level.
Ooh.
And that was probably the most like, they try to like, there was this week called the Kamikaze. Basically, it's like a hell week.
Wow.
And I don't remember exactly what we were doing, but all the blinds were closed. We have like all 50 young, hot, sweaty young men in there. We're just dying, and girls too. And we're just all dying, flopping around, trying to do what they're saying, sprawl, shoot, whatever. We can't really think.
Yep.
But yeah, that was really good experience because Naga's was right in between high school wrestling because Naga was like October, November at the time, and that's high school season.
Yep.
Oh man, like when I mixed wrestling and jiu-jitsu, I was like, this is crazy. And then you know,
It made it way better.
Way better, because at the beginning, I was a purely bottom person.
Wow.
Right, because I was forced to play guard because all the bigger guys. But now, I mean, I was a average. No, I wouldn't say. I'll be honest. I'll probably say like below average compared to everybody in that room, because everybody was a freaking killer.
Yep.
But I had three legitimate takedowns I could take down in live.
Mhm.
a basic single leg,
Mhm.
scoop up the leg, basic double leg, and then the ankle pick. And then
Mm.
the ankle pick, I would pick, and if they defended it, we'd scoop to a single, right? So I would
Oh,
chain those
okay.
three things, but I couldn't do any of the fancy stuff.
Mhm.
I just didn't have enough reps. Um, and there's definitely something to take away from that high school wrestling because I'm writing about it in my next book, Fighting
Mhm.
Sickness with Nutrition.
Oh, yep.
Yeah, yeah. But anyway, because the reps. Because in jujitsu, what do? We do 3 reps on the left, 3 reps on the
That's
side, and then
true.
we wait. Rest. I mean, you're resting a little bit now, so like,
Yep.
dude, like they would make me shoot. They would make all of us shoot left 50 times,
Yes.
shoot right 50 times,
Yep.
no questions. And then the conditioning was freaking ridiculous. Run 2 miles, 3 miles at the start. Then you're running hill sprints, and then you're doing all this partner conditioning, and
Wow.
then you do these drills, and then we finally get to actually like shoot and practice wrestling, and
Wow.
then we do, because if it's getting close to season, what do you call it, scrimmages and stuff like that.
Oh,
But like halfway in, you're just done already.
dead already.
Yeah, and so like the conditioning by the end of season for that white belt, my was that my last white belt naga? I don't know, but it was a nagas in 2010. 2010 nagas, 13 years ago.
Wow.
I remember like that was like one of the best conditioning I had in my early teens. I was like, this is crazy. I'm not tired. Like, what the? This is
Wow.
ridiculous. Like, I'm not. They're tired.
Yeah,
you know?
wrestlers have a different type of like conditioning.
It's crazy for
Yeah.
grappling. And so yeah, but I just remember I hated the running, but you eventually fall in love with it. Yeah.
Everybody knows how much I hate running.
Yeah. I was like running, bro.
Shout out to John.
Yeah,
He knows
yeah.
how much I hate running. But
Yeah. And then
yeah.
shout out because you have your possibly a fight,
Yes.
right, in
Soon,
December.
soon.
Oh yeah, I put together a plan, by the way.
Yep,
So
yep.
I'll show you after.
We'll talk about that.
There's some running though, because
Oh.
it's incorporating what my coaches
Do it for
would-
your Muay Thai training.
yeah, what they
We'll talk about that one soon, too.
yeah. So I'll put that in, but so yeah. Anyway, high school wrestling, nagas, and then right after that was judo season in high school. So
Oh,
Sensei Doris.
so you're
Shout
like
out to Sensei
in-
Doris.
yes.
Right, you know her.
Yep.
Yeah. What were you saying?
What do you call that? So you're like constantly in shape the whole time. You go from jiu-jitsu, nagas to wrestling, and then right into judo.
Right into judo.
Oh.
So my conditioning is still tip top.
Yeah.
And judo was the same way. Well, not the conditioning part, but the repetition was there.
Mm.
Do 20 ippon serenages, do 20 ogoshis, do 20 this, do
Oh.
both left and right. It wasn't like 3 reps like jujitsu. Like,
Yeah.
well, let me just do 3 arm bars.
Yep.
And then what do? We lay back and chill. It's like, what is this, bro? Like, what is this? What are we doing?
That's
You don't
true.
do that in boxing. Yo, I'm gonna just throw a straight right hand 3 times and rest.
Yep.
Like, we don't do that. Muay Thai 3-round house kicks. No
Yeah.
way. Let's do 100. So there is something, getting off topic, for jujitsu to learn from the other combat sports in that drilling and that discipline to drill.
Drilling so much.
Yeah, because the allure is sparring and free rolling, right? Is the allure.
Yeah.
Which obviously, sparring and live wrestling and judo and super important, but the mechanic and then the drilling, there's something to gain from there too.
A lot.
But yeah, high school judo, that was awesome experience. But more important than the martial art was the self-belief and the self-reliance you gain and the self-confidence.
Yes. That one's crucial.
Because that was the first time in senior year that the people that used to pick on me and bully me stopped. And shout out to my friend Robin. We're good now. We're super good. Actually, we're better than good. He comes to work out, here and there. Back in the day, he was one of the guys who would like pick on me, and just make trouble. And then he called me out, and then he just pretty much just like comes at me. He's a wrestler, so he double, like, he's a really good wrestler. Just come at me, tackle my legs, and then within like 10 to 30 seconds, triangle choke. Instinctually.
Oh.
And then we stand up. He's like, nah, that was bullshit. You know the usual.
Yeah.
And then the second one, and this was in my book too. I wrote it.
Uh-huh.
Was not triangle, rear naked choke. I don't know how I ended up on the back, but this is what like 6 months of jujitsu, Jojo. 6 months.
That's true.
I was a 6 month
That's
white belt
true.
or something like that.
Levels to white belt.
It's crazy, bro. And he's been wrestling for 4 years.
Wow.
4-year wrestler. I had 6 months jujitsu and maybe 6 months of wrestling.
Wow. That's crazy.
And anyway, so that ended that. And then people around were like, what the hell was
They were,
that?
like, in shock.
What? Justin? What? Justin? And then that kind of spread around, and they're like, and then it kind of becomes like, but that's why I really believe martial arts is so important. It doesn't matter what it is.
Yes.
Some sort of self-defense or self-offense, you want to call it, something, because it teaches the self-confidence. And it was just automatic. It was like, wait, a 6 month white belt, but I just triangle like instantly. I think
That's true.
Okay. And I remember standing up like, did that just happen?
That's how I felt with my first like submission ever.
Right.
I was like, whoa.
Yeah. And where it's just automatic, and probably when you fought too, it's just automatic.
Yeah.
And long story short, that's high school, and then